Before I start this video, I want to start with a quick question. And I want you to be completely honest with yourself in asking yourself this question. Have you ever felt that the world feels a bit off nowadays? Not in a sense that it's bad, but it's getting worse. And it's not uncommon to have a very cynical mindset describing the situation that we are in right now. Like, I'm fairly certain that school was stressful back then, but with everything going on, school feels way worse right now after the COVID pandemic. And number two, there's a lot of drama back then, a lot of irrelevant drama, if you can even call it that. But nowadays, if you're not involved in the drama, you're not just ill-informed, you're also not a participant or an active participant of how generally the world operates. And people right now seem to have very little time to think about their future, to the extent that it almost feels inevitable to lose that potential future with everything happening in between. And the best bastion of defense we have when it comes to dealing with these things are our phones, our devices, because they are the only free yet intimate tool we have to get out there and feel like we actually are somebody. Sure, we live in an era where we are more connected than any human being in the past history. We can text someone on the other side of the globe in just seconds. We can join massive online communities with specific niches that we never thought we'd find people to account for. However, despite being connected, it's a no-brainer to feel very isolated nowadays, very apathetic. And because of this isolation, we start to heavily invest in the things that are generally just not as real as touching grass. And we call these things parasocial relationships, which is basically just another term or another fancy term for having a sense of relatability to a content creator who doesn't even know that we exist. If you want to read the blog post version of this video, because this video is relatively longer than the blog post, then I'm going to post my Medium article below. It's something that I've been wanting to talk about for a really long time. And I hope that you are going to learn something from this take. Or, to say the least, have more awareness. I'm not claiming that I know everything here, but it's just something I've observed and I want to share. I want to unpack why the online world is just so comforting, why it feels so much safer than real life, and how an ancient philosopher named Plato actually predicted this exact vibe over 2,000 years ago. This isn't really a lecture. I'm not here to tell you to go touch grass because I personally also struggle with that, but I want to discuss why we do these things and what it's doing to our mentality and hearts in general. I wrote in the blog post that there are three main reasons why the virtual world is winning the battle of our attention. So let's break them down one by one. Number one is that it's way easier to pretend. First, the online world helps us create who we want to become. In the real world, you can't really hide your awkward phases. If you blush, you're nervous. If you stutter, then you'll have to deal with a stutter. If you're having a terrible hair day, then people are going to see that and they're going to make comments out of it, or at least judge you in the silence, because that's what most people do nowadays. But the mentality of someone potentially judging you, it exists rent-free in everyone's head. But when you talk about an online platform, online interactions are one-dimensional. You can formulate a backstory without having too much to lose. Imagine creating a Discord account for like the 5th time. You get to choose a perfect avatar. You get to write a curated bio. You can take 20 minutes to draft a single reply to a message to make sure you sound perfectly funny, chill, or edgy. If people online don't like that version of you, what happens? Nothing. Nothing happens. You can delete the account, you can log off, and the stakes are incredibly low. It's an act, it's a performance, and while that performance is fun, we're trading genuine messy connection for flawless superficial masks. The second reason is about internet etiquette and consequences. In the real world, if you make massive mistakes, you hurt someone else's feelings, and it's something you witness firsthand. The fallout is heavy. You have to face them in the hallway, when you hurt someone in school, And you feel the physical tension in the room, as well as the rent-free sense of judgment that people are observing you. And it's a very deeply uncomfortable thing. Online, however, the consequences are obviously less dire because they stay in their own lane. Think about internet culture as an example. One week, there's a massive drama on Twitter or Twitch or TikTok. Everyone is screaming, trying to cancel each other and making call-out videos. It feels like the end of the world, at least in that specific timeline. But then 7 days later, a new meme drops, a new scandal happens, and the old error is almost entirely irrelevant. Because interaction online is more of an act than a proper conversation, we've collectively agreed to an unwritten rule that what happens on the internet stays on the internet. If things get way too intense, you can literally just close the app. You can block, mute, and turn off notifications. You can escape the consequences with a swipe of a thumb. And the third reason is basically all about echo chambers, which I'm going to explain in a short bit. There's a complete lack of commitment to how we acknowledge information on the internet. Because of how vast and endless its data is, we have the power to cherry pick exactly what we want to engage with. We have an audience for everything now. There are thousands of people online ready to talk about it with you, and that's a very beautiful part of the internet. But there's a dark and twisted irony in this endeavor. The more options we have on the internet does not only represent the ideals that we can share, it also represents the information that we can delude ourselves with. Think about the algorithm. If you're feeling insecure about your appearance, the algorithm might start feeding you videos validating those insecurities. We can create feeds that not only show us what we want to see, but what comforts us, what our biases represent. We don't have to commit to a very difficult process because we don't have to learn the whole truth. We can just choose the version of reality we feel is best. Now, going back to Plato, what does this have to do with ancient history? Well, if you've heard of the allegory of the cave, this is basically where we are right now, especially in the digital space. The digital world is literally the cave itself. To give a bit of a summary, Plato asked us to imagine a group of people who have lived inside a deep cave, chained there throughout their whole life. They are positioned to face a blank wall, unable to turn their heads, and behind them there's a fire. And behind that fire is the real world. But since most of the prisoners are only fixated on one particular angle, all they see are the shadows of the real world, the shadows of that fire. So they only see the shapes of animals, trees, and everything in between. They see the puppets, the shadow puppets of the real deal. To these prisoners, these shadows are not just shapes. They are literally the forged reality of what they think the real world is like. Plato adds something to the story by saying, imagine one prisoner suddenly gets unchained. He is forced to stand up, turn around, and look at the fire. The light may burn his eyes at first, but he sees the real world now. He sees that even though it hurts his eyes for the very first time looking at the sun, his eyes eventually adjust and he realizes that, oh my God, the shadows in the cave weren't the real deal. This is reality, and it's a very beautiful thing to witness. For centuries, teachers of philosophy have been using this story to say not to settle for illusions. Break your chains, leave the cave, and go find the truth, even if it hurts. But there's something strange about this allegory that applies to the modern generation. In the original story, the cave is viewed as a prison. The people are trapped there by chains. But today in our digital world, the cave isn't a prison anymore. We are staying inside of it voluntarily. Our generation prefers the cave. We know the outside world exists. We've experienced it. We've walked in it. But we look at the outside world with so much cynicism, along with its anxieties and climate change, and the possibility of us experiencing a painful social rejection. We look back at the cave and we realize that maybe the prison isn't that bad because I don't have to deal with the consequences of the real world. It's not as beautiful as the truth anymore. Our generation prefers the cave. Social media, video games, streaming platforms, they aren't just entertainment anymore. And while they might not give us deep, soul-fulfilling nourishment, and they are incredibly convenient, the modern world does not care because convenience is a luxury that we value almost everything else. Think about it. Why go through the terrifying ordeal of asking someone in person, risking immediate face-to-face rejection, when you can just look at your crush's Instagram story or interact with an AI companion? Why go outside and play a sport, building up your body, especially with how tiring it feels, when you can just hop on a Discord with friends, play on a virtual paradise, having a strong character or avatar in the comfort of your own gaming chair? We live in a world where, despite the option to leave the cave and explore the truth, we have the reason to stay inside. We aren't ignorant. We are choosing comfort over authenticity. We are settling for what we want to see. I want to pause here for a moment because I want you to hear this. If you recognize that you see yourself in this scenario, please don't feel ashamed. It makes total sense why we do this. The shadows on our digital walls, the TikTok feeds tailored exactly to our humor, the cozy gaming world that we have control over, the online friendships that we cherish along the way because our real friends in real life aren't true friends. It is an alternative world that we would rather be in. And it makes total sense. If you want to feel accomplished without getting judged, you can just level up in a video game. If you want to feel loved or admired, you can just watch the view count and the likes go up in a post. If you want to feel like you belong, just find a subreddit about it. It's easy. But this is a gentle reminder that we are all aware it isn't healthy. Deep down in those quiet moments of introspection when the phone screen goes black and you catch yourself in this reflective state, you know it's a temporary band-aid. You know that you crave deeper human connection. You know that the shadow of a tree can never replace the fresh air. And you know deep down that even if you have a lot of friends online, you don't really have friends who can actually be there for you at all in real life. Because the moment you log off on that device, friendship disappears. And if you don't update your online friends, let's be realistic here, they move on anyway. So where does that leave us? Acknowledging that the cave is comfortable is a necessary first step. It's okay to admit that the real world scares you sometimes. It terrifies me as well. It's the reason why I don't want to go outside. I don't want to deal with people because I know that I can be as eloquent or I can talk as much as I want on the internet and I remain to be this introverted mess in real life. And I definitely relate to the idea that despite it being a band-aid method, I feel like I'm more recharged when I talk to people online, when I play with them online. But this is just a firm reminder for myself and maybe to the people listening to this that we can't avoid discomfort forever. And if we remain in this digital bubble, the doom that we like to be cynical about, the doom that we want to parade ourselves with, becomes a firm reality because we no longer care enough to take care of ourselves. The world outside the cave is an uncomfortable mess, but you have to understand something. Even if it is a mess, you still belong in it. And no band-aid method is going to help you in the long run. Don't pretend that it's going to make things better just because you're coping right now. Even I am struggling with this, and maybe that's the reason why I'm making this video, because I want to look back at this video and tell myself that maybe I haven't lived life enough. Maybe all these philosophy podcasts that I listen to or these conversation starters I kind of apply in a digital space, maybe that's a sign that touching grass is not really a bad idea. And surprisingly, touching grass isn't about socializing, if that makes sense. It's about confronting the uncomfortable and being in the real world. I'm sad to say that this video has no real potential solution when it comes to dealing with this, because for a lot of us, we're very into the rabbit hole and it's very hard or difficult to get out of this rabbit hole. So I guess what I'm trying to say is take care of yourself. It's a really messed up world out there. And I understand where the cynicism comes from. I know that sounds like a cheesy line, or maybe it's something I tell myself as well to feel comforted in the absurdity of what's happening right now. But please, Don't settle for it. Don't settle for the lie and live your life.